Alright, this is the introductory video for the course. This video is going to go over the syllabus and the assignments and give some explanation of the assignments and how to do them in pretty basic form. And we'll talk about kind of background of the course and what it means and what you're going to be expected to do. This is going to be very general. As you can see by the syllabus you're looking at, there's a blank for college. I teach at several different colleges. So they each have their own kind of rules and requirements and contact information and whatnot. So I've scrubbed a lot of that stuff out of this sample syllabus, this template. And so when you look at the syllabus in Canvas, you'll be able to fill in all those details for the college that you're at. So I teach several different courses at several different colleges. So this video again is going to be very generic, so I can apply it to all courses. So up at the top of the syllabus, you'll see that this is the college that you're at, and you'll see an icon on your actual syllabus in Canvas for your specific course. So things that the colleges always make us do in general is write the college's name at the top of the syllabus, the semester, fall, spring, summer, and then the year after that. And right below that is the course number. Or some colleges call it the course registration number, the CRN. After that, you'll see a catalog description, the kind of course name. Is it early U.S. history? Is it modern world civilizations? And the years that it covers, the date range. Below that, you'll often see what's called a section number or possibly a CRN, course registration number. And this is an internet-based course. So I just write internet course instead of the meeting days and times of an in-person class that's actually held on campus. So this course is entirely through Canvas, fully through the internet. Below that is the final exam date, the day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the month and the date, what day in December or May or something like that this specific course will have its final exam due, and the year. And I usually make all my final exams due at 11 p.m. On the very last night of the course possible to give students as much time as possible to complete the course. Below that, I usually write in a course link, which is a direct link to the Canvas login page for your college, and that'll get you into Canvas. Below that is an assigned textbook, which is going to be a zero-cost textbook, a textbook that is fully online and completely free. So I've been using the Boundless series recently, but again, I might transition into other textbooks in the future, so I'm leaving this also kind of generic. Below that, I always write the online textbook link. I always put that right into the syllabus, so all you have to do is look in the syllabus and click on that textbook link, and that will take you directly to the online course textbook. And I always write in my syllabus that this syllabus is amendable, which means changeable, by written notice of a change, which would be posted in Canvas, or a verbal notice sometimes that I would give to my in-person classes, but since this is an online course completely, the written change would go into the syllabus itself, and the syllabus would be updated in the files page, and the syllabus would also, an announcement of this change would be posted on the announcements page. So any announcements that would happen would be announced pretty clearly to the entire class. That being said, I build the syllabus in very specific ways before the class starts, so I'm really pretty loath and hesitant to change anything in the syllabus. So you probably won't see many changes as we go through the semester or the course timeline. So usually the only times I ever make a change in the syllabus is if I notice a problem or a mistake in the allocation of points to different assignments, or if there's a discrepancy or something, I'll make that change. But usually I review the syllabus pretty closely before I ever post it, before the semester starts, before the course starts. So by the time you're seeing this syllabus and you're watching this video, it's usually pretty well set. And again, I normally do not change things for any except for any kind of emergency type reason. Below that is me, my kind of identification. My name is Luke Gunderson. I've been teaching in the California community colleges since 2007. and I've kind of added on to different colleges since those years. So it really depends on which college you're at, how long I've been teaching at that specific college. Um, let's see. I've done a PhD, which is the highest level of scholarship possible in school. So in the history discipline, the highest level of schooling, the highest level of expertise you can get is a PhD. That means you do a dissertation, you do 5 years of classes, even beyond a bachelor's degree. So it's a whole lot of extra work. Let's see. And below that, each college gives me a college assigned email address, which is usually my name or my first name dot my last name or first initial last name, some combination of that, and usually just at thecollege.edu. So sometimes the colleges are abbreviated. Sometimes it's just the name of the college.edu. You'll probably be aware of that just by the other classes that you've taken at this campus. And all this obviously will be filled in better detail in the syllabus for the course that you're actually taking in the files page. Some colleges offer paid office hours for adjunct instructors, which is what I am. What's basically a part-time employee of the college. So I do not have a physical office space that's assigned to me like a full-time instructor will at the college. So some colleges have kind of flexible space for adjunct instructors to hold office hours with students. Sometimes colleges pay for office hours. Some colleges don't have any paid office hours at all. And some don't have any flexible space. So it really depends on the kind of institution that you're taking the class through and really how they treat their adjunct professors. And it's really hit or miss. So again, I leave this very general. For the colleges that offer paid office hours, that will be written in to the syllabus for your course, exactly when and where those office hours are, days and times and locations, or if it's just online. I'll be monitoring both Canvas inbox and the college email system during those days and times. The other colleges that don't offer specific paid office hours, this space will probably say something like office hours, by appointment, something like that. The area below that is the college course description, which is again something that the colleges require us to put into the syllabus. This is really a space where I plug in the official college's catalog description of the course. And the catalog description is usually about a paragraph or so long. It lists any prerequisites that are required, that this college requires for you to have completed before you can even enroll in this course. What the course generally covers kind of thematically, what are the years, what are the areas geographically and territorially, what are the limits of the course in time and space, and what is the general purpose of the course, why does the college offer this course, and why has the department put this course in the catalog, why do we offer it, what do students get out of it, that type of thing. Kind of moving down a little bit, you'll often see what are called student learning outcomes, which is something that is more of an administrative thing for the college to ensure that the students who pass with a C or higher in this class, that they're actually developing a certain skill set beyond just taking the test and getting their C or better. So you'll often see statements like students who complete this class with a C or better will be able to do research through databases or be able to identify historical context or something like that. So each course usually has about 3 or 4 SLOs, as we call them, student learning outcomes. And again, it's really an administrative thing to ensure that that the college can guarantee or can analyze that the students who pass this class have gained those skills. And there's even higher level learning outcomes for the entire department and the entire school or division. And it's even college-wide, and the state of California looks at the success rates for these SLOs and determining funding and whatnot. So the SLOs are really an administrative thing that students we'll talk about the first day, but a lot of students don't personally have much contact with because it's more of an internal development type tool. Below that is my advice for studying history. And I find that a lot of students that are studying history for the first time at the college level, they may have studied it in high school, and they often get very frustrated with studying it because they think that history is just a basic memorization of names, dates, and places. So students often feel very overwhelmed at the amount of information that the lectures go through because the lectures really tell a story of the different actors and participants and the things they did, the dates that they did them and whatnot. So students say they often feel very overwhelmed at the amount of information that they think that they are required to study and memorize for big kind of high stakes tests, the big exams. And I do have study guides posted on Canvas in the files page for each exam, so it gives a kind of list of the things that are kind of open season for the test. But when you think about how to study and try to memorize those names, dates, and places, a lot of students, their kind of default method is just to do basically the flashcard system, which is they write the name of someone on one side of a piece of paper and they write the definition of what that person did on the other side, and they just kind of flip it back and forth and for a few hours or so until the information kind of they can memorize it. It gets into their mind and they can memorize it for kind of short-term test taking. That's really the most difficult and most frustrating and annoying and time-consuming way to try to study and memorize the names, dates, and places. Basically, it's much easier for you to not try to memorize the details first, to take a step back and watch the lecture, take notes, and try to understand the larger themes within the lecture. What are the larger conflicts, the larger ideas that the lecture is getting to, and even the module. What are the bigger debates that's happening within the module that all the lectures are attached to? What's the common ideas that are discussed over and over again, and how are those ideas evolving over time? So try to understand those larger kind of threads of the course or the module first. And once you understand those kind of larger long-term evolutions of ideas or conflicts, it's much easier to go back and try to memorize the names, dates, and places as representative of individual turning points within those evolutions. And once you get really good at that, then that makes the memorization much easier because you're not just memorizing facts attached to a name or an idea. You're memorizing ideas in the chronology of other conflicts, of longer term developments. So it's a lot like saying you want to see the forest first. If you're standing on a hill and you're looking at a forest, you want to appreciate the overall thing first and get a feel for it. So take the time to do that first before trying to memorize the details of each individual tree. Because if you try to memorize the details first, you're going to get lost in the details, and it's just going to take you much greater amounts of time to try to memorize what you're trying to learn and remember. So understanding the overall concepts is a much easier way of trying to understand the overall ideas, and then try to, in the future as you go to study for the test, once you have that understanding of the overall long-term evolution, then you can memorize the individual names, dates, and places, again, as turning points that are representative of some major shift in ideas or events. So that's my general advice on studying history, is don't do the flashcard thing just at first. Try to understand what the course is getting at before you do the flashcards. All right, this sends us into the graded assignments section. There are 4 modules in this course. The first 3 modules are pretty self-explanatory. Module 1 is just each of the 3 first modules are lecture modules, basically. Collections of lectures, kind of groups of lectures, and then a test or an exam at the end. So Module 1 starts off the early part of the course. What are the kind of building blocks of the course? What are the kind of basic things that we need to know? What are the first civilizations, or the first kind of conflicts that get us going in the course? So that first module is usually kind of what's going on here in this time and space that our class is dedicated to. So it's kind of defining the beginning. And then you'll take a test on that. And the second module is just continuing the timeline into the next series of lectures. Most of my modules are about 6 or 7 or 8 lectures and then an exam at the end. And there's a study guide posted again in the files page for each exam. So they're usually in a folder called exam study guides or something like that in the files page. So for each module, as you're watching the lectures, you should take notes, very clear notes, and save them and keep them just like you would any other in-person lecture class you've ever attended, because these exam questions are coming right out of the lecture material, right out of those videos. So, and these videos are an hour, hour and a half long, hour 15 minutes. It's, the normal college lecture time frame. So you want to take good detailed notes just like you would any other college course and be ready to take exam on that series of lectures. Let's see. So Module 4 is very different from the other modules. That is the term paper process, where you will start off with kind of choosing what you want your term paper to be, and I'll give you feedback on that. And then you'll go into the research process, learning about how to determine if a website you're researching is useful or reliable, and then going into how to use the library, the college library's resources. Usually there are journal articles and databases and ebooks and things like that. And you'll see in the syllabus for your course, and even in the assignments page, if you kind of scroll through Module 4, there's a lot of assignments in there, and it really breaks down the whole term paper writing process into a step-by-step process. So Module 4 is unlike the other 3 modules in that Module 4 also starts off at the beginning of the course, and you'll see these term paper process due dates throughout the entire course. So you want to really keep up with the Module 4 process, because it's throughout the whole course, and if you start to fall behind, that means you're falling behind in the research and writing process. And if we'll see as we get down further into the syllabus, the Module 4 assignments are the biggest portion of assignments in the whole course, because I'm more interested in you learning how to write an essay, how to research and write an essay effectively, than I am that you can demonstrate that you memorize some historical chronological stuff, names, dates, and places. So I put a lot more emphasis on Module 4 and your general writing skills, really, to get you through the course, because I think that'll help you a lot more in future classes and really in the rest of your life, being able to do research and argue your ideas with evidence. So there's a lot of assignments that are attached to the Module 4 term paper process, and we'll start going through those as we get kind of further down in the syllabus. Let's see, I tend to make all assignments due on weekday nights at 10 p.m. because I know a lot of you are working, and that's why you're taking an online class, because you need more flexibility. So I make the assignments due pretty late at night to give you the full amount of time possible. Almost all my classes, I try to define a certain night of the week as the kind of due date, kind of day of the week for all the assignments for the course. So if you look in the syllabus for your individual course, at this point in the syllabus, it'll usually say all assignments are due on like Monday night at 10 p.m. or something like that, or Wednesday night at 10 p.m. or whatever I chose for your course. And I choose that to get you on a kind of weekly normal schedule if you're turning something in every week at 10 p.m. So that 10 p.m. due date is for the responses to the lectures, which we'll talk about in a little bit. It's also 10 p.m. is the due date for all the Module 4 term paper process assignments, kind of scattered throughout the entire course. So there may be an exception to that night of the week if a holiday falls on that day of the week, I'll usually make the due date for that assignment due a week later or the next night or something like that. So you may see, because of a holiday or something, a different night for some assignments written into the syllabus. So if your course usually has your assignments due on a Monday, 10 p.m., then I might have to move it to a Tuesday, and you'll see that written into the course schedule that we'll get to in a little bit. Any assignment that's turned in, or any exam or quiz that's taken late after the official due date at 10 p.m. Will be punished by a 10% point reduction for every calendar day that it's received late. So if the due date was Monday night at 10 p.m. and you turned it in on Tuesday afternoon or something, then it's 10% point reduction right off the top of whatever your score is. So if you get 100%, if you get 40 out of 40 points on the assignment as the just, you know, you did it real well and you got the full amount of points, then I deduce 10% off of what you got, so it take away 4 points from your score. If you're going to need to miss a test date ahead of time, if you have some kind of plans or you have some kind of work schedule that's going to prevent you from taking a test at a certain day, let me know ahead of time through email or through the Canvas inbox, and we'll kind of work out whatever you will. We'll make some kind of deal, basically. I have students that constantly have those kind of problems, so you just have to let me know ahead of time to avoid that point reduction. The first thing that is due for you will be the syllabus quiz. So you're going to take a 5-question quiz on everything that we're talking about here, and in the details of the syllabus that's in your own course. So that is usually due a week after the first week of class, and usually on whatever day of the week I picked out for your course to turn things in. So this part of the syllabus for your specific course will say that the syllabus quiz has to be completed by Monday, whatever the day of the semester is, usually week 2 of the semester, and then whatever year it is, and it's always 10 p.m. And that those first assignments that are due in week 1 or 2, you have to get those in by that 10 p.m. deadline, because I'm using that to determine any students who haven't turned it in by that deadline have not basically participated in the class, and so I may drop them for non-attendance to make room for other students that are on the wait list to add in. So the syllabus quiz is a big one to make sure you get done in those first few days of the course. Let's see, we are going to have, oops, yeah, that's a mistake, but we're going to have 3 major exams, and each exam is attached to one of the modules. So at the end of Module 1, you have Exam 1 for that lecture series, and for Module 2, you have Exam 2 that's testing you on only the lectures in Module 2. And yeah, this is actually a typo right here. This should not say 4, it should say 3, because there's 3 modules that have lectures attached. So that's a mistake, typo. Let's see. So, and the final exam is going to be based on the Module 3 lectures only. So, yep. So, you know, attending the lectures and taking notes and preparing for an exam and taking the exam and passing, these are all pretty basic nuts and bolts type things that you're going to have to learn to do as a college student. You're highly advised to actually, you know, take the test on time, because if you contact me after the due date for the exam or the quiz, then I have to contact my own boss basically and ask if they're going to allow me to give you a makeup exam. But if you contact me ahead of time before the exam is due, then we can, you know, find some way of accommodating your needs. But if you don't contact me until after the exam is due, then there's no guarantee that I'm going to be able to actually give you a makeup test, because it's up to my boss. Next section is really talking about the mini research paper that you're going to be required to write for this course. I assign this because learning to write is a big thing in the history discipline, and probably every history course you're going to take in college is going to have you write some kind of small research essay. So the research paper is going to be at least 4 pages, all the way to the bottom of the 4th page, 12-point font, Times New Roman, double spaced. So at least 4 pages all the way to the bottom of the 4th page. That's the minimum requirement. You can write more than that if you choose. Some students write 5 pages, some students write 6 or 8 pages. That's fine, but the minimum is 4 pages. And if you write less than 4 pages all the way to the bottom, then you're going to lose points, as you will see in the term paper grading rubric that's also posted on Canvas in the term paper documents folder in the files page. And again, I'm not asking you just to spit out a final draft at the end of the term. Module 4 is dedicated to helping you develop that essay from the very starting point of choosing a research topic all the way down through doing the research and outlining your ideas and writing a rough draft and editing and whatnot. So Module 4 is a whole step-by-step process. But at the end of that, there is a final draft due date that you really want to hit, because if you turn things in even the next day late, the final draft is the biggest assignment for the whole course. It's bigger than any test. So if you turn that late, you can start losing out on a lot of points. Next thing is what I call a reading response. Students are required to respond to one optional primary source reading, which means a source that was written in the time that we've been talking about in the lectures. There's a whole folder of reading response options in the files page. So you go in there in Canvas and you go into that file, and you'll find a whole bunch, 20, maybe 30 different options, and you only have to choose one. So you read it and maybe take notes on it. There's also a document in the Canvas Files page called Lectures and Readings, which gives you a list of all the lectures with a list under each lecture about which kind of reading in the folder, the options folder, attaches to which lecture. So if you were really interested or maybe even excited about one of the lecture videos and the content of it, you might be able to find a primary source document that you can read for this reading response. So that lectures and readings document is also on the files page for you to review to help you pick which one of these options that you want to read. They're generally all about the same length. So what you want to do is pick which one out of that folder that you want to read, and you can access it from that folder, that options folder. You can download it. You can take notes on it if you want. It's a pretty good idea. Some of them are kind of wordy, and they're written in jargon sometimes from the area that we're studying. So it's often a good idea to take notes on this, on the thing that you're reading itself, because you're going to write a mini essay based on what you've read and what you think about it. So your essay is going to be based on your answer to the 3 following questions. Number 1, what's the main criticism or question that the writer talks about in that piece? Basically, what is their point? Why did they write this thing? What are they complaining about? What do they want to see fixed? So that usually makes up about the first paragraph of your small reading response essay. So tell me, what do you find is kind of most important? What does the writer think is most important in the world? What are they complaining about? And you also want to prove your idea, as we'll see below, with quotes. You want to use quotes from the thing that you read to prove in that paragraph the accuracy of what you think the writer's main point or main criticism was in that first paragraph to answer that first question. So Question number 2, next paragraph. What do you think is most important or effective about the thing you read? Is there a story in there? Is there an example or an allegory that the writer uses, or a funny story to get their point across that you found interesting or that really drove home the point for you? But generally, what do you think is the most important thing, or what did examples they used that was really effective? And again, quote it in that paragraph to answer number 2. And the third question you want to answer is, do we still see similar problems going on in our society today? And the answer for this question is not as simple as just yes or no. Give me examples. How do you see this going on today? What's happening do you see in the news recently that seems kind of the same type of problem that the writer talked about in the piece you read? So give me examples. That's really how you're going to get the full amount of points for that third question, that third paragraph. So you answer these 3 questions. You usually have about 3 paragraphs with some quotes. So the reading responses usually end up being about a page and a half, maybe 2 pages, double spaced, 12-point font. And you're going to turn that in through the reading response link at the end of Module 1 in the assignments page on Canvas. These reading response essays, they are assigned to the more modern courses I teach. So if you're taking a U.S. history course or a modern world civ or a modern Western civ, really anything since the year 1500, those are the courses that you'll see this reading response assignment in your own syllabus for the course. For more ancient courses, ancient world civ, ancient Western civ, something like that, you'll see this next one down, which is called a film analysis. So basically, I've decided that a lot of the ancient sources are much harder to read and understand. So instead of doing a reading response on something written from the time, I'll instead ask you to do a film analysis of a theatrical film, a Hollywood film based in a topic, an ancient topic that our class goes over at some point. So there's a lot of films out there. I mean, there's Robin Hood, and there's all kinds of films based on the Roman Empire, ancient China or something that you can choose from. There's tons of them out there. And the mission of this is really not just to watch a film and kind of comment on what happened in the film. I'm not looking for a summary of the film. What you should do instead is analyze the film's historical accuracy. So the question you want to answer is, did the film portray historical events accurately according to what historians think actually happened in that place and time that the film is talking about? So how do you do that? Well, you don't want to analyze every single facet of the film, because that'll take you years to, I mean, people write books about certain films and their historical accuracy. So what you want to do is pick out 1 or 2 kind of facets of the film. Were the costumes accurate? Were the battle scenes portrayed accurately? Was the conflict or the decision that the main character gets involved with, is that portrayed accurately? So you want to pick just 1 or 2 of those kind of smaller areas of the film to look at and analyze for accuracy. And you're going to write an essay that basically argues one way or the other. I mean, your essay can argue, yes, the film's portrayal is very accurate with costumes and with whatever conflicts or whatever is going on in the film. But again, you cannot just say it, you have to prove it. So you have to use evidence, historical evidence, a historian to prove it. So how are you going to find that? You're going to have to do some research. So you're going to have to maybe look in the online textbook about the textbook's description of that civilization or that government or that leader, and compare that to what the film's portrayal is. You could also look in the scholarly articles in JSTOR or one of the other databases in the college library. Some historians also publish things on the general internet you might be able to find, but you want to find something that a professional historian at a university has written about that film and what they're saying about the film's accuracy. So you're going to quote what the historian wrote and use that as evidence for your argument whether or not the film portrayed those events accurately. So the quote should be cited in parentheses with the author's name and maybe even the page number if you found something in a textbook or a scholarly article in the databases. Usually a good film analysis is about 1.5 or 2 pages long, double spaced, 12-point font. Because usually what a good film analysis does is kind of start off with a quick description of the film and maybe 2 or 3 sentences. Who are the main characters? Where is this film based and whatnot? Where and when? And then after that, you're going to write probably 2 or 3 paragraphs about these different areas of the film that you're analyzing. So paragraph 1 would talk about this is how the film portrayed the characters and their conflicts that they get involved with, or the big decision the character has to make. And you'll say whether or not that's accurate, and after that you'll give some quotes from some historians that prove whether or not it's accurate. And then you'll go on to the next paragraph, arguing, I don't know, about did the film accurately portray the costumes according to what historians think that the people back then wore and used, or whatever you want to analyze. And same thing, process just repeats. Then you'll use a quote from a historian backing up your claim. And that's really the whole process. That's the whole film analysis. So you do that, and you're usually at about a page, page and a half, 2 pages by the time you're done. And again, you're going to submit this through the film analysis link in the assignments page. The film analysis is due at the same day and time as exam 1. So that's the process for that. And the point totals for either the reading response or the film analysis are written into the course syllabus for the course you're actually taking. Because I change point totals around every once in a while as experiments and when I add new assignments and stuff like that. And for the film analysis, there is an example of a strong film analysis posted into the files page on Canvas. So you can look on that to see an example of what a good essay looks like, what a good film analysis looks like, and how that student did it. And I highlighted some stuff in the example and said, this is a good example of a good quote from a historian and whatnot. All right, so those are either the reading response or the film analysis, depending on which course you're taking. This gets us into the next section, which is the lectures themselves that are attached to the modules. You do not just watch the lecture video and then you should be taking notes while you're watching the lecture video, but also while you're taking notes, you can pause the video, type in some questions that you have about what's going on in the video, what is happening historically within the topic that the video is talking about, any questions you have, any comments you want to make. And then at the end of the video, take those questions and you'll go into just below where you clicked on the link to watch the video, there's going to be a little reply button. And once you click on that reply, you can upload your questions into the discussion board right there. So I'm requiring that you write at least one question or so. You don't have to have a whole list of questions. It's usually 1 or 2 sentences or questions about the lecture video. Put that into the discussion board, and I do read through all of them after the due date, and I respond to a whole bunch of them if I have the knowledge to answer those questions. Sometimes I don't, because I'm not an expert in everything, and no historian is. So that's how you're going to submit your lecture critiques into the discussion board through Canvas. The critiques are graded on a credit or no credit basis, so it's not like I'm saying, one critique is better than another or something like that. If you write something in there, you're going to get the full points. And generally, it's 5 points per critique, which means that you have to reply to at least 20 lectures to get the full course credit possible in total. So the lecture critiques, again, are due on a weekly basis at 10 p.m. On the day that the lecture title falls under in the schedule below. We can take a look at that real quick. So skipping down to the kind of schedule, you'll see that in this kind of sample syllabus, the first couple lectures are due the week after the first day of class on August 24th. So those critiques in the discussion board are due at 10 p.m. on August 24th as an example. So you'll see that the syllabus quiz is also due that first due date, that first night, first couple of critiques, and you have to get all those in on that first due date night by 10 p.m. because, again, I'm looking at which students didn't complete those assignments, and that will indicate to me that they're not participating in the class and they may be dropped for non-attendance to make room for other students to add. And as you look at this kind of module schedule, the next week there's a couple more lecture critiques due, and the next week a couple more, and then by the end of the module you'll have a due date to take exam 1 and turn in that first reading response or film analysis all by 10 p.m. So basically you'll have week by week to watch the lecture videos, take notes, upload your critiques, your questions, and then you'll have an extra week to take the exam and turn in your reading response or film analysis. So scrolling back up, and again at the end of this kind of lecture critique part of the syllabus, it says students that don't submit critiques for the first few lectures by that first due date may be dropped for non-attendance. For any of the written assignments that you're going to be doing, the film analysis or the reading response, and a whole bunch of the stuff attached to Module 4, the term paper process, I really prefer those to be uploaded as a Microsoft Word document because that's much easier for me to comment on and save and send back to you as a file upload. So each assignment will be graded, and once I grade them, I will re-upload those assignments, so you'll get the graded version emailed back to you through Canvas, and your grades will appear on the grades page. So you can keep track of your grade week by week as the points are added in, and I do heavily advise and encourage students to track their grade on a weekly basis in the grades page to make sure that you're getting points for the stuff that you turned in, because sometimes the file upload system in Canvas doesn't work right when you're uploading it. Sometimes I skip an assignment on accident, so really make sure that those points are popping up for the assignments that you're turning in on a weekly basis. That's heavily advisable. And extra credit will also be offered at the end of the term for students that have turned in all of the assignments. Except for all those lecture critiques attached to the videos. But all the assignments, all the reading response, all the Module 4, all the film analysis, all that stuff, you have to have taken all the exams to be eligible for extra credit at the end. And I do look through the grades page at the end of the term when students start uploading extra credit on the last kind of couple days of the course. Before I grade any of them, I go into that grades page and I look, make sure there's points in every single column, because if you're missing any and you're not eligible for the extra credit, you're not eligible, so I don't even grade it. So that's the extra credit policy. All right, next section is the grading scale. And I do a lot of color coding from this point forward to differentiate the different areas and different types of assignments. So the first one are the lecture or the video lectures. I always put those in red in my syllabus. Because that video lecture, if you skip down and you look in the modules in the course schedule, those video lectures are all in red. And you'll see them listed throughout the course, throughout the modules. So those are the due dates that you have to watch each lecture video and upload your critique of each lecture by 10 p.m. on the days that is listed in the schedule, that are listed in the schedule. And added up in total, all those lecture critiques add up to 100 points possible, or 10% of the overall course, because the total possible for the class is 1,000 points. So that's 100%. So each lecture critique individually is 5 points possible if you turn it in. And if you respond to 20, 20 times 5 is 100 points. That's how you get your full 100 points for the lecture critiques, your full 10% of the course grade. So that's on a weekly basis, just watching the lecture videos and posting your replies, your critiques to the discussion board. All right, next section is the term paper process, Module 4. I always put that in brown in my syllabi. And you see in this grading scale the whole list of all the different assignments that are attached to Module 4. So first thing you'll usually do is just choosing a research topic. And that's where you'll go into the assignments page and you'll click on that link, and there'll be a little box, a text box, that you just type in 1 or 2 sentences real quick. What kind of research topic do you want to do for your term paper for this class? And it's due usually the first week or 2 of the course. And I review every single one and I reply to every single one. So you'll get feedback from me. So just typing in your kind of research proposal, you'll get a certain amount of points for that. Next step is the evaluating online resources, which is basically a worksheet that I give out for students to analyze 2 different websites according to the worksheet that you'll follow through, and you'll answer the questions for each website in order to determine which of the 2 websites you think is more reliable for a source for if you're going to write a term paper on that topic. So that'll be basically a file upload. You can just fill in the PDF. Or you can just, if you're having trouble with the PDF, you can just write your answers into a Word document and you'll upload it through that link in the assignments page. The next one is what I call an essay formatting worksheet, which is you're going to watch what I call a crash course in essay writing video, and you'll fill out the worksheet as you go. So it's really a kind of tutorial on the steps in the research process and literally how to write an essay. What goes in the introduction, what a thesis is, how you put together a body paragraph, how you use evidence, how you cite evidence, how you build a bibliography, how you review your essay and look for typos and mistakes and whatnot. And it really goes according to the grading rubric for the term paper that's in the files page on Canvas. So this is really a tutorial on how to do all that stuff to get a really good grade on the final draft. So I assign that early on before people start doing research, because one of the keys in understanding how to write an essay is to understand that you're going to do a lot of research before you ever sit down to type up anything for an essay. You should do all the research first. And that's why usually the next assignment is this term paper annotated sources, which means that if once you're going through and reading the sources that you've picked out, I want you to create an early bibliography of your sources. So it's, a list of your sources, really, the author's name and the title and publication data and all that. And also answer 2 questions for each source. Number 1, what kind of source is it? Is it a book, a journal article, a website? Like physically, what is it? And number 2, how are you going to use this source in your essay? Really, what's it going to prove? How's it going to be useful? So you answer those 2 questions for each source, and you'll turn in the annotated sources, again, through a file upload through Canvas, through the assignments page. Next step is an outline. So you're going to build an outline of your ideas, what you plan your essay to be. what's the overall thesis, what's the overall argument, and then what each body paragraph is going to say. What's the main argument for each paragraph, and what evidence are you going to use for each paragraph. After that, I'm going to have you do this passive language worksheet, which is more kind of practice for passive language. A lot of college students have never heard of passive language, and most college English classes don't even teach passive language. So this is a kind of going to be a new thing for almost everybody in the course. So I've developed a worksheet, and you're usually going to turn that in the same night as the term paper outline. So it's really just practice to get you thinking about passive language as you get ready to start writing your rough draft. And once you write your rough draft and have it ready to go, then you're going to do a rough draft peer review process where you find a partner and exchange rough drafts, and you're going to analyze each other's rough drafts and fill in a worksheet I give you, asking you to look at specific things in your partner's draft to find mistakes. And then after that, once that's done and you refine your essay according to the advice you got from your partner, then it's turn in your final draft, usually toward the end of the course, and that final draft is worth a whole lot of points. It's 20%, 200 points of the overall course. And if you look, it's worth more than any single exam, including the final exam. So this final draft is the biggest assignment for the whole course. And if you add up all the Module 4 point totals, the Module 4 term paper process is by far the biggest part of this class. So you really want to make sure you get all those assignments in piece by piece throughout the course. And at the bottom you have your reading response or film analysis points. And below that the syllabus quiz, and that's all the assignments for the class. So you can email me if you have questions about any of these assignments. Each of the assignments, the explanation appears in the link on the assignments page in the place where you're going to upload your answers or your document, or whatever the assignment is. So there'll be an explanation in there in that assignments page link. But you can also feel free to contact me if you have any questions or you run into problems or anything like that. And skipping quickly downward, this is also pretty generic, the term grading scale. It really depends on which college you're at. Some colleges only do A, B, C, D, and F. They do not do pluses or minuses. So again, this is going to depend on kind of what your college policy is, what the college has decided for you. And like I said, I teach at several colleges, so but anything in the A range, A minus to A plus, is going to be 90 to 100%. Anything in the B range is going to be 80 to 89%, including pluses and minuses. But your specific course syllabus will have these numbers listed specifically for your class. And below that is the course schedule. Again, it's color-coded. The video lectures are in red, so they are due on, say, the specific date that is listed for them. So you can see on this example, this Ottoman and European discovery, those lecture critiques are due by 10 o'clock on the very first due date night, along with the syllabus quiz. They're all due at 10 p.m. for that date. And then the next week you'll go on and you will watch the next two videos, and they are due by 10 o'clock on the next date, and that's how you're going to go through the course. And again, the first exam is going to be due on that due date. So as you go through the modules, that's basically what you're going to be doing, is watching the lecture videos, replying to them through the assignment link into the discussion board, and then going and taking the exam by the time you finish the series for the module. The module exam is open any day that you want to take it up until that due date. So that is designed to give you as much flexibility as you want according to your own personal schedule. If you want to watch all the lectures for that module the first week and then take the exam, that's fine. It's up to you. Students do that. And then you would go on to the next module, which is another lecture series. And you will take the exam by the due date for that one. There's no reading response or film analysis due on the night of the second exam, because by the time you get into Module 2, if you skip downward and look at the dates, go down to Module 4, that's usually when you're going to start getting heavy into the term paper process. So you're going to be working on the term paper week after week with research or something like that by the time you get into the Module 2 kind of area usually. So again, these Module 4 due dates you can see are interspersed throughout the entire course. So Module 3 is often a large one, especially for my modern courses. And they culminate with the final exam due at the end of the term. The final exam is usually due at 11 p.m. because I like to give students at least another hour to get it in. And all extra credit and any late assignments that are still acceptable, that have not run out of points because of their late fee, their calendar day late fee, that's all due by 11 p.m. on that last due date night of the term. So that's really the course. Another thing to be aware of is the textbook reading assignments are listed in green. So they're attached to the textbook readings that connect to the lectures in red are right below. So the Ottoman lecture video attaches to the Muhammadan Rise of Islam, Umayyad and Abbasid Empire in British India, part of the textbook. And you can see those are listed in green right below their lecture that they're attached to throughout the entire course. And below that is really course policies that are usually pretty basic. Students are responsible and expected to keep up with each module and the due dates for the course, and are responsible for the information in each module. Even if they don't reply to a module through the critique, through the discussion board, you're still responsible for the information in that video, that lecture, and because there's probably going to be test questions from that lecture, the exam questions. So you're also responsible for dropping yourself from the class, especially after the first week or so. I'm going to drop students who did not participate after that first due date. And after that, I don't really drop anyone because I'm teaching several classes at several different colleges with a lot of different due dates. So after that first due date, I don't really drop people. So it's really your decision to drop the class after that point. And you should never assume that I dropped you. You should always, if you want to drop the class, do it yourself. And make sure you get written evidence of that drop. Print out whatever confirmation number that they give you and keep it in your files, because a lot of times I've seen this happen before where a student dropped the class and they didn't print out their confirmation number, and a year later they come complaining to me because for some reason the college computer system screwed up and put them back in the class, and now they've got an F in the class because they thought they had dropped. And if you have printed out that confirmation number, you can go down to the admissions office and say, take that F off my transcript because here's my confirmation. If you don't have that confirmation, you're out of luck. So treat that confirmation number like a really important piece of paper and file it away with whatever important receipts that you keep for big purchases, because it could really help you in the future. The college considers plagiarism to be academic dishonesty and takes that accusation very seriously. And to be pretty honest, I usually catch at least one or two students in every single course I teach trying to plagiarize, which means copying someone else's work and passing it off as their own without quotes, without quotation marks, and without any citation. So if I suspect students of plagiarizing, what I do is I stop grading that essay or that assignment right there, and I print out any evidence that I find, and I hand it to my boss, the dean or the department chair or the dean of discipline, or whoever that person in authority at your college is responsible for, whatever the college kind of defines them as, whoever they are, whatever their position is. And I hand it to them, and it's really up to them to decide if you're guilty or innocent and what the punishment should be. So that's really my policy. Once I suspect it, I basically fill out a form and hand it to my superiors and leave it up to them. And if you have questions about that, you can see the college's academic dishonesty policy. You can usually do a search for it on the college homepage, and you can find some kind of document, or you can contact the dean or the dean of discipline at your college. There's also, lastly, is a rubric, a grading rubric for the term paper that breaks down exactly how I'm going to grade your final draft of the term paper. And to just go through it quickly, I grade it based on length. So it's 50 points. Did you get to the bottom of the 4th page, double spaced? You get 50 points for that. If you don't get the bottom of the 4th page, and you get less points. The next part is a research quality. Do you have 5 good academic sources that you found through the college library listed in your bibliography? If you have 5 good ones, then you get 50 points. If you have 3 good ones, you get 30. If you have 2 good ones plus a bunch of websites, you might get 30 some odd points. So 100 points right off the bat for the essay is just how long is it and what's the research quality. And one general hint, first thing I'm going to read on your final draft is the bibliography. That's the first thing I do, is skip right down to the bottom and read your sources and assign those points. So I look at those sources very carefully, and that's one of the major things. The rest of the points are, number 1, do you have a clear thesis? And we'll talk about later in the course what that means and how you do it. And do your paragraphs follow that thesis? So you get 20 points for that. If your thesis is kind of vague or the paragraphs don't follow it, you'll get less points. Next portion is the body paragraphs. Do your body paragraphs kind of introduce the topic? Do they have evidence for your argument? And does your paragraph explain what the evidence means and clearly tie it to what your argument is? Then each body paragraph has to have that. If each paragraph has it, you get 20 points. If stuff's missing, you get less points. After that, it's evidence. Does each body paragraph have a quote or a statistic or something to prove the accuracy of what that paragraph argues? If each does, you get 20 points. If there's evidence missing, then you get less points. Is all evidence cited? And we'll talk about how to cite things later on in the course. If all evidence has citations, you get 20 points. If citations are missing, you get less points. And then at the end is just general grammar. Do you have passive language in there? Do you use present tense to describe past events? Are there a lot of kind of problems with punctuation or something like that I noticed in your draft? And this is really the one that students generally struggle with. Usually I give out only 10 or 12 points out of 20 possible for grammar, because I read your essays very, very closely and I look for those kind of grammatical errors. So that's how I'm going to grade the essay, and we've gone through the whole syllabus now. So you can contact me if you have any questions about anything in here that we've gone over. So this was a pretty deep introduction to the different assignments and what I'm expecting to see on them. Again, contact me if you have any questions.